Mayday! Mayday! We are under attack at position 25.4 and 56.6E.
All vessels, defensive posture. Engage the threat.
Scramble jets now.
Con, sonar. Sierra 2 is holding steady course above.
Periscope confirms. Massive vessels directly overhead. Navigating the gap now.
About the economic significance of the Strait of Hormuz, noting that a closure of even a few days would trigger supply anxiety across importing nations.
The Strait of Hormuz is not merely a regional choke point, but the central nervous system of global energy logistics.
Governments have made significant investments in energy security, building up strategic petroleum reserves and alternative supply arrangements specifically to manage this scenario.
Bridge to engine room. Maintain minimal fuel consumption.
We are holding position awaiting new orders. Keep me updated on the weather situation.
No other single maritime choke point carries this combination of volume and strategic importance, making its closure the
strategic role of the United States Navy in maintaining freedom of navigation in the world's critical maritime choke points.
Asymmetric naval doctrine that Iran has developed specifically for the confined waters of the Gulf.
Persistent aerial surveillance means every vessel movement is observed in real time by multiple.
Nuclear submarines from the United States and conventional submarines from Iran are operating in the same
The strategic geography of the strait means that shore-based weapon systems have the entire width of the waterway within their effective range.
Is this military lockdown of a critical energy choke point truly catastrophic, or have we already built the systems needed to survive its closure?
Whether the crisis shown in those opening scenes would actually be as catastrophic as it appeared, or whether the countries that depend on the facility behind us is not a normal commercial port, but one component of a massive infrastructure system built. What the viewer is about to see represents one of the most significant and least discussed infrastructure investments in the modern history of the global energy system. The real question is how much of the normal throughput can be replaced by alternative routes, and how quickly those routes can be activated to full capacity.
The first infrastructure scene shows a sweeping aerial shot of the east-west pipeline in Saudi Arabia, stretching across the desert landscape in a perfectly straight line.
The pipeline has a design capacity of approximately 5 million barrels of crude oil per day, representing a substantial replacement for Strait of Hormuz throughput.
Building and maintaining a pipeline across this terrain presents immense engineering challenges. It must be viewed.
The Abu Dhabi crude oil pipeline running from the Habshan oil fields to the Fujairah export terminal on the Gulf of Oman coast.
The digital control infrastructure allows operators to detect and respond to any anomaly in the pipeline's operation.
The pipeline operates continuously at a base throughput, ready for rapid scale-up. The transition to emergency.
The Yanbu terminal has an export capacity that can handle a substantial volume of crude oil for loading onto
Buried infrastructure is significantly harder to target and destroy. This underground installation serves as
Each station along the pipeline contains multiple pump units in parallel configurations that provide redundancy, so that
The strategic importance of keeping the pipeline running means every maintenance action is planned to minimize downtime, giving maximum.
The electrical power infrastructure supporting the pumping stations, featuring gas turbine power generation systems.
Pumping stations are among the most closely protected industrial facilities in the Gulf region. Security measures include
The combination of underground installation, modern digital control systems, and energy self-sufficiency makes
scale is intentioning. Hamlin Sloyd would restricted technical preparation at the bypassity, without laboratory when the operative bubbles or lays of this scale can subluster the hundreds of crude per day and convert them to a range of petroleums from liquids.
A refinery's profitability depends heavily on its ability to convert low-value heavy crude fractions into high-value lighter products.
A modern large-scale refinery has thousands of individual process control loops, all managed in a coordinated.
The same terminal can handle gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and naphtha exports, depending on the current product balance.
The refinery complex at Yanbu represents not merely an alternative export route for Saudi crude.
Fujairah's strategic position on the Gulf of Oman coast, noting that its location outside the Strait of Hormuz gives it direct access to the Indian Ocean shipping lanes.
Ensure all valves are sealed correctly before we move on.
Copy that. The seals look good on this section.
The terminal's loading capacity is a significant contribution to maintaining oil supply continuity.
Several Gulf states and major importing nations maintain large strategic stocks specifically to buffer the impact of supply disruptions like a strait closure.
A terminal capable of handling crude oil, refined products, LNG, and marine bunker fuel is a complete energy export.
Fujairah has grown from a small fishing village to one of the world's major oil trading and logistics hubs in less than 3 decades. Rail transport serves as a tertiary backup logistics system for oil movement, while pipelines handle the majority of the role of road tanker transport in the bypass logistics system. While the capacity of trucks is much smaller than pipelines,
the journey time from the Gulf oil fields to the Red Sea coast by rail is longer than pipeline transit.
Versus. The route distances involved in moving oil from Gulf oil fields to bypass export terminals by road are significant.
The optimization of a complex multimodal network during an emergency is a significant.
The combination of pipeline, rail, and road transport gives Saudi Arabia a genuinely redundant oil transport.
The strategic planning and rerouting sequence opens with a wide shot of the Saudi Aramco Emergency Operations Center.
The complexity of route optimization, choosing the best combination of alternative routes, involves balancing
the role of satellite monitoring and crisis management. The availability of high-resolution has.
The logistics of mid-voyage rerouting mean a supertanker must be given enough advance notice to alter course.
Confirmed.
Major Gulf producers have long-term supply commitments to customers in Asia, Europe, and North America. Maintaining those commitments
represents an investment in crisis management capability that is as strategically important as the physical pipeline and terminal infrastructure itself.
The pipeline can go from its normal operating throughput to its full design capacity within a matter of hours. Once the terminal's standing operational procedures are designed to minimize the delay between the order to increase throughput and the arrival of additional crude.
The combination of satellite communications, sophisticated vessel tracking, and experienced commercial operators means that
the combined effect of bypass route activation and strategic reserve drawdown provide a significantly larger buffer.
What has just been shown is not a hypothetical scenario, but a system that exists today in operational readiness.
Naval mining is a historically proven method of choke point closure. Mine laying is a relatively low-cost operation.
The escalation in dynamics of a strait standoff. Note that the presence of naval forces from multiple nations.
Every day of delay for a supertanker costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. The aggregate daily cost across
the concentration of oil export facilities and processing plants in the immediate While this scene of chaos represents the worst case, the existence of the bypass systems means that the world is not as helpless as this visual might suggest.
Although the pipeline is rated for these pressures, intensive monitoring is required at full capacity.
The Abu Dhabi crude oil pipeline can move approximately 1.5 million barrels per day to Fujairah when running at full capacity.
Vessels normally employed in Gulf to Asia routes through the strait are being redeployed to Red Sea to Europe routes, while Asian markets are being supplied from alternative sources. A tanker loading at Yanbu for delivery to Japan must travel significantly further, and this additional distance translates
are performing a function of enormous economic and strategic importance, even though their work takes place far from the visible drum.
The The maintenance challenge of sustaining emergency maximum throughput operations for extended periods. Operating at or near maximum.
The operational discipline required to sustain maximum throughput refinery operations. The temptation to cut corners on quality
bids. Tank farm management is an underappreciated operational complexity, involving not just how much space is available.
What is being shown is not a miracle improvised in the face of an unexpected crisis, but the execution of a
stated. The allocation challenge means
Gulf producers must make difficult decisions regarding priority access.
The price spike serves to simultaneously incentivize production increases from non-Gulf sources and encourage efficiency and fuel switching in consuming countries.
The geopolitical dimension of energy security, noting that the strait closure creates both winners and losers among the world's oil-producing and consuming nations.
The strategic dominance competition shows the nations that control bypass route infrastructure gaining new leverage in global energy politics.
A strait closure is not merely an energy supply disruption, but a geopolitical event rehint.
The military protection envelope was extended to cover these bypass routes. Their activation as primary export channels
The threat to global energy supply was severe enough to bring together naval forces from multiple nations with otherwise divergent interests.
Drone monitoring operations show unmanned aerial systems conducting continuous surveillance over both the pipeline routes and the maritime bypass routes.
The protection of Fujairah terminal is one of the highest priorities in the bypass operation. It is
The decision to commit this level of military resource to protecting commercial infrastructure reflects the strategic importance that
the existence of a functioning bypass while the strait is blocked represents a fundamental shift from the absolute strategic vulnerability.
The oil flowing through the bypass pipeline today was produced from the same reservoirs that have always supplied the world's markets.
Protecting a bypass supply chain that extends from underground wellheads through desert pipelines to coastal terminals.
The real competition is not just the military confrontation, but the parallel contest between the disrupting force and the...
This split frame captures the essential truth of the Strait of Hormuz crisis, which is that the blockage of one route, while consequential...
The relationship between strategic infrastructure investment and geopolitical resilience. The nations who built bypass systems decades ago.
This aerial perspective is the appropriate frame for understanding the bypass system.
The bypass systems will continue to be maintained, expanded, and improved as long as the Strait of Hormuz remains.
The Strait of Hormuz may be blocked, but the oil is still flowing. That the crisis is real, but so is the response.